Monday Sidekick, the AI agent that knows you and your business, thinks ahead, and takes action. Ask it anything. Seriously. Monday Sidekick, AI you'll love to use. Start a free trial today on monday.com.
If your roof starts to leak or your floors really squeak, you live in a money pit. Money pit.
If your basement needs a pump or your place looks like a dump, you live in a money pit. Money pit. Pick up the telephone.
Fix up your home sweet home by calling 888-MONEY-PIT.
The Money Pit is presented by Dyche Coatings. Now here's Leslie Segretti.
Coast to coast and floorboards to shingles, this is the Money Pit. I'm Leslie Segretti, and with me is Jim Kenzie. Hey, Jim.
What's going on in your world, Leslie? Fill me in. Update me.
I don't know. I feel like it's been bananas at GMA. It's bananas with the holidays. It's bananas with college applications. What happened to that extra hour?
Speaking of bananas, why don't we do a tropical remote this time of year?
Oh, that'd be amazing.
You like it, don't you?
I do like this idea. Hey, businesses in warm climates, if you need some spokespeople or you'd like to run a makeover contest, we will come there and do those things for you.
Yeah, we'll be there in about 45 minutes.
I mean, sure. Theoretically, we can be at the airport in 45. I always have a bag packed for a beach vacation.
Yes, have your people call our people.
Yes. Bring. Hey, Jim, it's Leslie. No, but seriously, you guys, it's a busy time of year. I just feel like we're cramming more stuff into the same schedule, plus everything else that's going on. How about you?
Same old seasonal craziness, Leslie, just frantic chaos, and you do what you got to do, and then it gets all through it. That was tremendous, but you'd killed to do it all again.
Yes, seriously. Well, let us help make this busy time of year go much more smoothly for you guys. So let's get the house in order. There's a couple of things that you should be doing this time of year that will help the house stay in tip-top shape through the winter and be ready for the spring. And there's some stuff that you should be thinking about doing or just kind of would help the situation so that it's just a better winter overall. So let's get to it. Do you think that caulk is just for cosmetic purposes? Well, think again. We're going to share why checking and sealing your exterior caulking now could save you major headaches this winter. Energy leaks, energy loss, sky-high heating bills, all can be corrected with caulk. So we'll talk about that in a bit. And are you avoiding your garage in the winter because it's too cold, it's too chaotic? Well, what if it could be your favorite workspace even in the dead of winter? We're going to show you how to turn that chilly catch-all into a warm, well-lit, and totally usable workshop without a massive renovation. And real estate. What is going on in this market, you guys? Are high mortgage rates locking buyers and sellers kind of in place? Well, a new Fortune.com article says that the golden handcuffs effect is holding back the housing market. So we're going to dig into what's driving the affordability crisis and how you can make smart decisions, whether you're buying, selling, or maybe you're just watching the market from the sidelines. We've got a lot to take care of at home this hour, and we want to hear what you are working on. So give us a call at 888-MONEY-PIT. Jim, who's up first?
Oh, I'm never going to turn you down on heading south to Florida, Leslie. We've got Scott there, and he wants to do some bathroom reconfiguration. Scott, tell us what's going on, please.
Hi, guys. So my daughter has a master bathroom with a stand-up shower and a toilet, and she wants me to try and flip those two. So in other words, move the toilet drain to where the shower is. But, of course, it's on the first floor, and it's a concrete slab. So I'm not doing the work myself, but I'm looking at and asking you guys if it's something that you think is worthwhile cost-wise, if it's going to cost me more in headaches, getting someone to come in and chop up the concrete to go ahead and flip all that plumbing, and then I can redo the finishing touches, obviously, when they're done.
Oh, geez, Scott, you know what? You're like dad of the year for wanting to tackle this project, but I don't think it's worth it. It's going to be a massive project, and it's going to be hard if you had a wood-framed floor to do the job, but with concrete, it's going to be even harder. You have to break it all out and get rid of it, and then that's a lot to even move that toilet drain over a couple of feet. So it's a huge job that I don't think it's worth it. I mean, what is it about the configuration now that your daughter just likes so much?
So when you walk in, the toilet is right to the right-hand side when you walk in, and the shower is in the back wall, and it's a lot of wasted space in the shower is really what it comes down to. There's so much, it's like half the space of the shower is really like a shelf as opposed to being usable. So I might just reconfigure that for them and put a second shower head in. That might be more efficient use of the space, would you think?
It's challenging here trying to reposition everything just because you feel like there's some wasted space. I have seen where a shower is made smaller and then you take that space and, maybe make like a storage closet out of it or just a closet for in the bathroom. This way, you're not flipping positions, you're not moving drains, you're not ripping up concrete, but you're making that shower just slightly smaller and adding a closet. I don't know what the storage situation is in there, but it could be a way to do that project to give them, more space to use without all that wasted space and not have such a major construction project on your hand.
Yeah, I appreciate the advice. Thanks so much for calling.
And you can totally blame me for this, Scott. You can tell your daughter, Leslie said no. And, she'd call me and we can try to figure out another solution. Good home security is important, no question, but it doesn't have to be expensive and complicated. That's why I'm so happy to be working with Cove. They're an affordable, customizable security system that you can install yourself in around 30 minutes. They include cameras offering live video and audio to your control panel or your phone and 24/7 professional monitoring for police, fire, and medical emergencies, giving you absolute peace of mind. Now, we installed Cove at home, and it's a great system because you can get packages that include a hub, door sensors, a doorbell camera, smoke detector, a touchscreen panel, window sensors, motion detectors, and indoor and solar cameras, which really gives you the peace of mind because it is an entire system that is so easy to install on your own. And I love the fact that someone is there monitoring 24/7, which you don't get with a lot of the other home systems. And as a single parent with, now a teen who loves to sneak out, by the way, can't do that anymore, and small kids, it's super important to know that we are protected and there's somebody there that can help. God forbid there's an emergency. And best of all, Cove is affordable. It starts at less than $1 a day. And right now is the perfect time to invest in your home security during Cove's Black Friday Cyber Monday sale event. And as an added bonus, Money Pit listeners get an additional 10% off. Just visit covesmart.com and use code MONEYPIT at checkout for an additional 10% off of your first order. That's covesmart.com, Covesmart, COVESMART.com. You'll be glad you did.
From South Dakota, Leslie, we've got Amy on the line with a window question. Amy, tell us what's happening, please.
We have crank-out windows. There's like 3 windows in a set and the outside 2 crank out. And I've noticed some discoloration, mostly along the bottom, a little bit up the sides of the window. And I'm thinking it's maybe some water damage from maybe the windows were out and it rained. But I'm also seeing it on the middle window.
All right. So, Amy, is the stain that you're seeing sort of like a grayish color and it's on the wood?
Yes.
So I think what you might be seeing there is normal oxidation. And the reason that's happening is that because the sun and the rain, and of course, you've got some contributing factors here with those two, but mostly what happens is the sun hits the lower edges and it tends to kind of break down the finish of the wood, and then it starts to fade and it could, change that wood a new color. And the same thing happens if you were to leave raw lumber outside for a long time. It starts out nice and bright and then it sort of gets yellowish and then maybe even turns like a darker gray. As the time goes on, it's exposed to water and sun. So that generally just tends to change the patina or the look or the coloration of the wood. So I think it's just saying that these areas you're seeing may need to be refinished. And it's not a major problem. It's truly a cosmetic one. I mean, it could be structural at some point, but you might want to explore the idea of sanding those areas. And what you'll find is that when you sand them, you kind of take away that gray discoloration area and you get down to some of that raw wood and you can see really what's under the surface. So if you sand them and then refinish those with an exterior grade urethane, and it's important that you go with urethane because you want something that's oil-based for the exterior because it's going to have more UV protection in it, which means as the sun is beating down on it, it's going to last a lot longer. Now, in terms of those metal windows, I'm a little confused about that. It could be that sometimes when the water dries off, it leaves behind mineral salts, and that can kind of look like a discoloration. And one thing you could try just to kind of test to see if it is those mineral salts is to wipe the area with some white vinegar. And you can even mix the white vinegar a little bit with water, but the white vinegar itself is going to work great at melting away the salt, and you can see if it goes away. If it doesn't go away, I think it's probably just some discoloration of the paint, and again, repainting everything with a primer first and then a top coat of paint will restore that finish on those metal windows as well.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling us at 888-MONEY-PIT. Hey, are you a fan of our podcast? Well, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and we'll be doing a happy dance. Plus, it helps us keep the show going and growing. Just go to moneypit.com/review. We are about to embark on my favorite holiday, the one about the food and the family, Thanksgiving. And guess what? Your dishwasher is about to get a serious holiday workout. So before that happens, give it a deep clean. Remove and rinse that filter. Wipe down all of the door seals and run a cycle with a cup of white vinegar on the top rack to cut the grease and the odors. Your dishes and your guests will thank you. I love this. Keep everything working in tip-top shape. So, Jim, let's see who needs some holiday home improvement advice. Who's up next?
You know what I love making for Thanksgiving, Leslie?
Apple pie.
Reservations.
No. No. I will not allow you to eat Thanksgiving dinner out.
This is where you put your foot down.
You have a reservation at the Segretti household for 4 p.m.
I'm bringing all my Sicilian family from Detroit with me, so just, make some room.
Fine. They'll be with my Sicilian family in New York, so come on over.
Be a lot of fun, wouldn't it?
Oh, loud.
Be loud. It'd be really loud. But the louder you are, the righter you are.
All right, we'll see. Come on over. But first, who's up next?
Heading to your neck of the woods, Leslie, Connecticut, we've got George working on a flooring project. Tell us about it, please, George.
Well, I have a family room. It measures 26 by 16, and it's over a dry basement. And I was thinking of putting in wood flooring and replacing the wall-to-wall carpet. I was wondering if you had any ideas of how to proceed, and what kind of wood flooring would you recommend?
So do you want to use natural wood flooring, or do you want to use a product that's like a vinyl plank that looks like wood, or maybe a hybrid stone that looks like wood, or even a ceramic plank that could look like wood?
I think it would be better to go with natural wood, be a bigger return when I go to sell the house.
Yeah, so I don't see any issues with you using a pre-finished hardwood. There's a lot of great brands out there, and the finishing today, those factory finishes that come on it are really lovely, and they're more durable than ever. You can put your own if you did natural and sand and refinish it, but I would definitely look at the pre-finished wood products because they're much easier to install than the traditional hardwood, and there's so many places that really have them available. There's a couple of brands like Mohawk is a good one. You mentioned that your basement is dry, and that's great, but if you had a super damp basement space, I'd be more concerned about warping. But the most important thing for you here is to get your subfloor ready, and once you pull out the carpet and pull out all the tack strips and all the little spiky things that you find on the floor, once you get down to that subfloor, it was probably just nailed down. And with the subfloor, it gets a lot of movement. Those nails will start to back out. So I would put screws in every sheet of plywood and get 2.5-inch drywall screws and put it right in with a drill and just go deep with those screws and re-screw and re-secure every board, because that's going to prevent that subfloor from moving, causing squeaks in the future. And the last thing you want to have happen is you do all this work and then find a noisy spot after that hardwood's installed.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Some very good information.
Well, if you've been outside lately and you have felt that first chill in the air, here's your friendly reminder. Winter is closer than it feels. And before that cold sets in for real, there's one simple project that can protect your home from a whole lot of problems down the road, and that is checking and refreshing your exterior caulking. Now, I know caulk is not the most glamorous thing to talk about, but it is essential to your home's health and efficiency. It really is your first line of defense defense against water leaks, cold drafts, even pests. And here's the thing, caulking does not last forever. Most products will wear down after 5 to 10 years, or even faster if it's exposed to harsh weather or direct sunlight. So how do you know if it's time to recaulk? Let's take a walk around the house and check the usual suspects. Around your windows and doors, where the siding meets the trim, gaps at the foundation, spots where anything comes through the wall, like a pipe or a vent or an outdoor faucet, and cables. You want to use your finger or a screwdriver and kind of gently press along those seams. If the caulk is cracked, brittle, pulling away, or maybe it's just completely missing in spots, then it is time to replace it. And luckily, this is a great DIY project for a fall weekend, and here's how you do it right. First up, you've got to remove the old stuff. A utility knife or a caulk removing tool will help you scrape out the deteriorated caulk. Take your time here because you want a nice clean surface to work with. The next step is to clean the area, and you can use a bit of rubbing alcohol or a household cleaner just to get rid of dirt and debris, and then let it dry completely before you go on to step 3. And step 3 is picking out the right caulk. For an exterior job, you want either a silicone or a polyurethane-based caulk. You want to make sure that the label says exterior and waterproof. And if you plan to paint over it, you want to double check that it's indeed paintable caulk, because not all caulks are. Then it's go time. You want to apply the caulk in a smooth, steady bead using a caulk gun. Don't worry if it's not perfect. You're going to use a damp finger or a caulk tool to smooth it out and press it into that joint. And once it's applied, you need to let it cure for the time that's listed on the package. And sometimes that's 24 hours. Sometimes it's more before you paint or you expose it to moisture. And here's the payoff. Once that caulking is refreshed, you're going to be sealing out the cold air, the moisture, the bugs, and locking in the comfort and the energy savings. Plus your siding, trim, even the paint job is going to last longer because they're not being compromised by hidden water intrusion. It's an easy, budget-friendly project that will make a huge impact, and you're going to feel it when the wind blows, but the warm air stays in. So this weekend, grab that caulk gun and get to sealing. All right, Jim, who do we have standing by to join us here on the Money Pit?
All right, Leslie, now we've got Belinda who wants to talk electricity. What kind of electrical work are you thinking about doing there, Belinda?
I live in a house that was built in 1971, so there were no GFI outlets then, and little by little, I've been adding them. So my question is, I have a couple more, that I want in bathrooms and all. When a GFI outlet is added, does it need its own circuit breaker, or is it okay if they splice it into an existing wire?
No, it doesn't need its own circuit breaker. In fact, that ground fault breaker is a circuit breaker. Now, there's two types of GFCI devices that are most common. One is built into the outlet, and the other is actually a circuit breaker with a ground fault circuitry built right into it. Now, with an older home, typically, you're going to replace that outlet with one that's a GFCI outlet. And the electrician that knows that they're doing should be able to handle that project pretty easily. And, we always suggest that you kind of test it yourself using that test reset button. And if possible, there's a little electric tester that's in the shape of a plug, and that tells you a lot of information. You put it in the outlet, it's got lights on it, and that light will tell you if that outlet itself is grounded. It will tell you if the polarity is reversed, which means that the wires were put in backwards. And it's also going to enable you to test the ground fault outside of the breaker itself, which is a better test. It's kind of like what happens if you have a bad appliance plugged into it. So it's definitely something that should be done after the fact, and you don't have to do it at the breaker itself.
And this tester you're saying is something I should buy to have in my own toolbox?
Yeah, they're called an outlet tester, and I don't know, they're like $10. They're not expensive. It looks like a small plug, a 3-prong plug, and you plug it in, you'll see the lights on it with a little push button, and when you read the instructions, they'll tell you if everything's wired correctly.
And then the way to test my GFI outlet that I have, you just press that red button?
Yeah, so with the ground fault outlets, you want to just sort of click that red button off, and it should make that outlet dead. It's sort of the test reset buttons right there. Test turns it off, reset puts it back on.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Belinda.
Hey, Leslie, if you have any doubt on electrical stuff, definitely hire an electrician. But here's a perfect example. On a GFCI, you can have it protect several outlets if you put it in the right spot of the circuit.
Yes.
And if you don't know where to put that, obviously you need an electrician. If it's something you can handle as a DIY thing, it doesn't mean every outlet in that particular room has to be a GFCI outlet, which is more expensive. You can protect other outlets with a primary being your GFCI.
I mean, and again, these are complicated projects at times. So if you are not certain, you should get a pro because electricity has the risk of death.
Absolutely. Know your limits.
Yeah, exactly. Well, cozy season is fully upon us. Are you planning to cozy up by the fire? Well, make sure that your fireplace is ready. Make sure you have that chimney professionally inspected and swept if it hasn't been done yet this year. You can use a flashlight to check for nests or debris that is built up inside of the chimney. And don't forget a fresh stock of dry firewood and a working screen or door to keep those sparks in check. Gotta love a fire, but you have to make sure that you maintain that fireplace. We've got time now for more questions. So, Jim, who's up next?
All right, we're heading to Mississippi now, Leslie, with Laura, who has a very humid home, has a lot of moisture on the walls. What's going on, Laura? Tell us about it, please.
I was calling to find out what do you have to do to keep, moisture build up on the walls and the inside of the house that could turn maybe to mold, mildew. What do you have to do to keep that away?
So I kind of think it's a combination of some things, Laura. First of all, if you have air conditioning, you want to make sure that you're running it consistently because air conditioning happens to be a pretty good dehumidifier. Secondly, if you have vent fans like in your bathroom and your kitchen, you want to make sure that those are venting to the outside and not just recirculating that moisture back into the house. The one over your stove could potentially be a recirculating fan, especially if that stove is just on an interior wall. Sometimes they don't vent outside, and that doesn't put a lot of moisture back into the house, but it does put some back in. The other thing is your bathroom. You want to make sure that that vent fan, if you have one, isn't just venting into the attic or just sort of dumping it somewhere else. You want it to move that moisture outside. Now, if you still have excessive humidity, there's a couple of things that you could do outside of the house. I know you're like, but it's inside. But yeah, outside because the moisture is coming in from somewhere. So perhaps there's water collecting at the foundation of the house and that moisture is going to end up inside because it does get absorbed into the concrete foundation and then evaporates into the space. You want to make sure that your gutters and your downspouts are getting that water away from the foundation. And if you're still having a lot of humidity issues after checking into that stuff, you can install something called a whole home dehumidifier. And it's not like the smaller dehumidifiers that you kind of just put in the basement and then empty that little bucket every now and again. A whole home dehumidifier goes into the HVAC system. It's professionally installed and it can take out 90 to 100 pints of water a day. And it's all done through the system. You never empty a bucket. So it's constantly kind of monitoring the moisture in the air and adjusting to do so. And hopefully some of these suggestions help dry up your home. All right. Thanks so much for calling. Well, if you're someone who loves to tinker or build or fix or even just escape to your own little corner of the house for a project, don't let winter slow you down. Your garage can be more than a carport or a clutter zone. With just a few upgrades, you can turn it into a fully functional cold weather workspace. So let's walk through how to create that perfect winter-ready garage workshop, from heating to lighting and all the little things that will make a big difference. So first up, you've got to winterize that garage. Before you even think about adding the heat, make sure your garage can hold onto it. You want to start by sealing up those drafts, check the weather stripping around the doors, the windows, and especially the big overhead garage door. You can add insulation to the walls if you're doing a bigger upgrade, and don't forget the garage door panels. There are insulation kits that are affordable and definitely DIY friendly. Next, you want to add safe but efficient heating, and there's a lot of options depending on the size of your space and how often you plan on using it. First up, a portable electric heater. It's great for spot heating. You want to look for one with a built-in thermostat and tip-over shutoff for safety. And if you need more oomph, you want to consider a mounted electric unit or a vented gas heater, especially if your garage doubles as a workshop. No matter what, you want to make sure that the heater is rated for indoor garage use and be smart about ventilation. And next up, we're talking about lighting. Now, most garages are still lit with that single bulb in the ceiling, and that is not ideal for working on detailed tasks or staying energized when the days are short. You can swap out basic bulbs for LED shop lights or track lighting to just brighten up the entire space. And task lighting at your workbench or tool zone can be simply clamp lights or even under-shelf strips. Easy upgrades, definitely DIY friendly. I mean, pretty much it's a clamp or peel on a stick, so it definitely makes an easy difference. And lastly, organize with purpose. If you are setting up a true winter workspace, you're going to want tools and supplies within reach and all of that clutter off of the floor. You can use pegboards, magnetic strips, or even wall-mounted bins to keep those hand tools organized. Rolling carts are going to be great for flexibility. Just tuck them away when not in use, and invest in insulated storage bins for any paints, glues, or liquids that can't freeze. And I guess lastly, just make it comfortable. A little comfort will go a long way in the colder months. Add a rubber mat or an anti-fatigue pad to your workbench. Keep a Bluetooth speaker handy and stash a few snacks or a warm drink station if you're going to be out there for long stretches. Creating a cozy, functional winter garage workspace doesn't take a massive renovation, just smart upgrades and a little planning. You're going to be warm, productive, and ready to tackle the next project without freezing your fingers off. Hey guys, are you looking for a great family-made centerpiece project for Thanksgiving? Well, look no more. You can make a rustic candle and harvest tray. And here's what you need. You need a wooden tray or a low basket, a few pillar candles, varying heights. LED is a great option. Mini pumpkins or gourds, pine cones, cinnamon sticks, even dried orange slices. And then put in a few sprigs of eucalyptus or fresh herbs like rosemary or sage. And what you want to do is take your tray and place all of those candles in the center and then tuck those mini pumpkins and pine cones just kind of around the base. So you kind of layer in all of these things. And now once you have the larger items, you're going to notice some gaps, and you can fill those gaps with herbs or the greenery, and that will give it a soft, natural vibe. And then lastly, add in those cinnamon sticks or the dried citrus slices. It's going to give it a little bit more color and make it a lot more fragrant. It's really elegant, it's seasonal, and it's totally doable with items from the grocery store and even your backyard. And it's really great because you can make a version for the kids' table too with some other things that might be more kid-friendly. I always like to make centerpieces with like crayons, and you can get crayons that are in fun shapes that can mimic a pumpkin or something in a kid's centerpiece. So there's a lot of different great ways to be crafting and be working on things as a family that you'll all enjoy together. So Jim, before you whip out that glue gun, let's take a call.
All right, Leslie out in Michigan, my home state, is Dennis, and he has a roofing issue or something along those lines. What's going on, Dennis?
Well, a while ago, I dropped a container of roofing cement off a shelf in my garage. It was a powder form, and apparently it got a little wet at one point. It then dried onto the floor. Now, the floor is a concrete cement floor, which I had stained years ago and put a cement stain on it to protect it. So I'm wondering what is going to be the best way to get that off. Am I going to have to use some muriatic acid to loosen it up and then scrape it off?
Yeah, the first thing you should try is to just physically scrape off as much as you can. I truly don't think, though, that you're going to be able to save that finish that you put on the concrete underneath. You're going to end up having to restain that whole surface again, but you do need to physically get off as much as you can. I think the fact that it's been sitting there for so long and has cured is going to make this a very difficult project. You might be able to use a solvent after you get as much off physically as you can first, maybe like a mineral spirits, and then you could also work it in with a wire brush so that you're really getting into the concrete and see if that starts to help break it down. Acetone would work as well. I know that the roofers of the world will tell you to put gasoline on it and it would probably work, but that seems super dangerous to me. I would not recommend spilling gasoline on any type of surface purposefully. I think mineral spirits is going to be enough. You apply it, you brush it in carefully with the wire brush. It gets into that material, gets into sort of the pores of the concrete, and then you may have a shot of sort of getting it up a little bit. All right, well, good luck with your project, and thank you again for calling us at 888-MONEY-PIT. Well, if you've been thinking about buying or selling a home, you've probably noticed the market feels, well, kind of stuck, and it's not your imagination. According to a recent article on Fortune.com, mortgage rates have kind of stayed stubbornly high, not as high as I've seen them in my lifetime, but high. They're kind of hovering around 6.2%, 7%-ish, depending on the day, for a 30-year fixed loan. And that's a big leap from the sub 3% rates many buyers locked in on during the pandemic, and it's creating a major affordability crunch. In fact, economists at Zillow say that mortgage rates would have to fall all the way to 4.4% to make homes feel affordable again, and they call that scenario unrealistic in the near future. So what does that mean for the average homeowner or buyer? Well, let's start with the current homeowners. Fortune highlights what they're calling the golden handcuffs effect. People don't want to give up their super low mortgage rates, even if they want to move. That's keeping would-be sellers on the sidelines and dragging down available housing inventory. And it's a major reason why home sales are slowing, even though buyer demand has really not disappeared entirely. And for buyers, it's no easier. Home prices have surged more than 50% since 2020, according to the Case-Shiller Home Price Index. Add that to higher borrowing costs, and affordability is just getting squeezed from both ends. So some buyers are even dropping out of the market entirely and choosing to just rent longer or live with family or just delay home ownership altogether. And while inventory from new home builders is kind of up slightly, Fortune reports that many of those homes are sitting on the market longer because the prices remain steep and builders are cautious about offering deep discounts. But there's a glimmer of hope. Price growth is starting to slow and homes are staying on the market longer, about 3 weeks more than this time last year, and that's giving buyers a little bit more negotiating power. So what can you do? If you're a buyer, you want to get financially ready and explore creative financing options. Some builders are offering rate buydowns or incentives to help close that deal. And sellers, you want to price your home to reflect today's market, not yesterday's frenzy. And if you have significant home equity, which many long-term homeowners do, you may still be in a strong position. At the end of the day, the article from Fortune paints clear picture that today's housing market isn't just about interest rates, it's about the psychology of it all. And sellers are hesitant, buyers are cautious, and everyone's trying to make the right move in an ever-changing landscape. Lots to think about there. I mean, it's pretty bananas what's been going on. It doesn't seem to be changing, but it's still cuckoo-luckoo. Time now for the best part of the hour, according to Jim. Time to answer some of your emails, and we do appreciate you all writing in. So, Jim, who do we have today?
We have Ann in Florida, and she's reached out to Team Money Pit, and she says, I live in a second-floor condo of a 3-story building. The neighbor next to me just discovered that she has black mold growing on several of her walls. I have adjacent walls to hers. Should I be worried? Yeah.
Well, I hate to say this here, Anne, but mold does not respect any dividing walls between apartments or property lines. I mean, that is true. And if you live in a multifamily building and your neighbor has mold that's showing up on the inside of her apartment, chances are that there may be some mold inside the walls. But I wouldn't panic, but you definitely need to take some action. I would report this to your building super, put it in writing, make sure that you're covered. I would find out what they plan to do about it. And generally, when you have mold that's growing, it has to be treated professionally, especially in a multifamily building like yours. And you want to have a company come in and treat that mold so that they can kill it. And they'll also do an investigation to see how far it went. There's ways to inspect the inside of the walls without destroying the walls. There's tools like a boroscope where basically you drill a hole into a wall and you put a little camera in there and look around at all the sides to see if you have mold. But you need to get to the bottom of this. Somewhere there's probably a moisture source and it could be a leak that started all of this. But if you just kind of let it go, it doesn't get better on its own. It's only going to get worse worse, and it could definitely make you sick. So I would take some action on this, Anne, and make sure you report it to the building, to the management company, do it in writing, and find out what they're going to do about it, and make sure they do something about it, all right? I don't mean to scare you, but you have to take some action, okay, Anne? All right. Thanks so much for writing in, and good luck.
We have Dave in Houston, Texas. He wrote in, and he says, we're having engineered wood flooring installed in our second floor bedrooms. What are the benefits and drawbacks of having it glued down or floating? And how about having something between the plywood and the floor, which is kind of like floating? Anything else we should consider before the install?
Well, first of all, when you buy engineered wood flooring, it's going to be designed for one type of insulation. It's either floating or glue down. And personally, floating floors are going to be really easy to work with. I kind of enjoy them better than a glued down floor. And you never really have to worry about them getting loose in any way. And if you're wondering what we're talking about, the planks will lock together and then they kind of float over the rest of the floor, and you leave a little gap around the perimeter of the wall, and then you cover that with molding. So the floor does kind of shift around a little bit, but that's to help with expansion and contraction, and that works really well. And the best part here is when you have an engineered flooring that's floating, there's usually an underlayment that's on the underside of those boards, so it's not an additional something you need to do. I just kind of like that it's a one-stop shop. It's like a big puzzle, and it's an easy install. So I would go that way, a floating engineered wood floor, okay? All right, Dave, good luck. Well, that's a wrap on this hour of the Money Pit. We kick things off with a smart and seasonal reminder about checking and redoing outdoor caulking. It's one of the simplest ways to keep the cold out, cut those bills, and prevent moisture damage around your window, doors, and trim before winter comes. And we rolled up the garage door and talked about transforming that space into a productive winter workspace. Whether you're tackling DIY projects, holiday crafts, or you just want a spot to escape to that's warm, well-lit, and organized, we covered everything from insulation and heating to lighting and layout. And finally, we looked ahead to the housing market with new insights from Fortune.com about where mortgage rates may be heading in 2026. Spoiler alert, guys, affordability is a challenge. If you want some more tips, you want some more ideas or how-tos, head on over to moneypit.com. And remember, you can do it yourself, but you don't have to do it alone.
On the Money Pit Radio Show. On the Money Pit Radio Show.
Pick up the telephone.
Fix up your home sweet home by calling 888 Money Pit. Woo!